Hi there guys, Mr. Martin here again. Thanks so much for joining me. Now in this video we're going to be looking at some of the theories as to why people obey. Why is it when someone tells you to do something that you do it? What is it about you or the situation that you're in? Now there's a number of different factors here that we'll look at, so let's waste no time and dive straight in. At the end of Milgram's experiment in the 1960s, what he ultimately concludes is this: individual factors have very little impact in obedience. Remember what his stimulus for this research is here. He's thinking about World War II, he's thinking about the Holocaust, he's thinking, okay, is there something specific about the German people which made them more likely to obey and do these horrible things, or was it something else? Well, what he's proving in his research here is it must be something else. Anyone will obey given the right push, up to and including hurting someone else. So ultimately what he's saying here is people don't obey because of their personality, but rather the situation that they're in, the context that they're in that particular moment. Now we can break this down into two rough areas. So obedience comes from one of two places. It can either come from the immediate situation that you're in, so the things around you, the people that are around you, the actual situation, or a little bit more general, a little bit wider, it can come from the effects of society, so the actual societal context you're in at that point. Now we're not going to focus on society today, we'll just focus on effects of the situation, and these can be broken down into four rough areas. Let's talk about legitimate authority first of all. Now, immediately at the end of Milgram's experiment, he's thinking, okay, what have we really proved here? We've proved that people have come in and we've told them to do something and they've done it. But is that because they were expected to do it? Let's see what Milgram means by this. His investigation was carried out in this building here. This is the Yale University Interactions Laboratory. It's a beautiful building, very prestigious. Everyone inside is very well dressed. They're all wearing lab coats, carrying clipboards. As well as that, think about Yale University. If you don't know anything about it, it's pretty much an Oxford or Cambridge type university. Very prestigious, lots and lots of smart people. So Milgram's thinking, did the guys just come in here and do what we told them to do because they thought we knew what we were doing? I mean, this is a very prestigious, very elegant background we've got here. Is that perhaps the reason why the people obeyed? So what Milgram does in one of his variations is he takes away that perceived power. He's thinking that, okay, if the actual participants think we've got power, or we actually do have power, then does that make it more likely that we're obeyed? He moves his experiments down into an office block in the nearby town of Bridgeport. The actual office block that Milgram chose, very run down, pretty shabby, there's mould everywhere, it's very untidy. As well as that, he has his experimenter dressed casually, jeans and a t-shirt, and he asks them to do the exact same thing. What we find, rather neatly, is there is a drop in obedience. People are thinking, well, hang on a minute, we're in a pretty shady office block here. Why is this guy in jeans and a t-shirt telling me to do these things? So maybe there's some kind of perceived power there, and it's when you take that away that you get the drop in obedience. As well as that nice little study carried out in the 1970s by Bickman, uniforms tend to give us an idea of authority as well. What he does is he has a guy dressed in civilian clothes and he tells people on the street to do various things. Pick up that piece of litter there. Go and put some coins in that car's meter at the side of the road. Those kind of things. Turns out only about 33% of people obey him, meaning 2/3 of them say, jog on mate, I'm not doing what you tell me to. Who are you? Put the guy in a milkman's uniform and obedience is ever so slightly more. It's 57% now. So more than half the people are obeying the milkman. I mean, the milkman does have something of a uniform around him, so maybe that's why. Lastly then, we have a policeman's uniform or a security guard's uniform. And almost everybody, 9/10 of people, obey the policeman's uniform. Now we are socialized perhaps to obey policemen. You're told by your parents, if a policeman tells you what to do, you have to do it. So maybe that's why people are doing it. But you can see here, just simply changing the actual perceived authority that this person has rather makes the obedience rate goes up. Very interesting. Next, we're going to talk about proximity. So what Milgram's thinking here is that maybe it's the wall that's having the effect here. Remember what the experimental setup is. The teacher's in one room, the learner, the stooge, is in another. They can hear each other, but they can't see each other. So Milgram's thinking, well, maybe it's the fact that they can't see each other which leads to obedience. Maybe it's easier to deliver the shock if you can't really see the pain that you're causing. So what he does here is he removes this buffer, this aspect that's in between them, and they gradually get closer together. So what he does here is he has the teacher and the learner in the same room. Turns out the teacher finds it more difficult to obey. Only 40% of people obey in this scenario, meaning 60% do not. Even more so, if we get them even closer together, this is a very famous photograph from this variation. The teacher had to physically hold the learner's hand down onto this plate. Now obviously remember this guy here, just an actor, very good actor, but turns out at this point, 30% obedience. So there is a lack of obedience here. It does tend to go down, but there's still quite a lot of obedience. That's still a third of people who are going all the way up to the top. So maybe there's other factors here as well. Presence of authority comes next. Now, if the experimenter was in the room, they're actually watching what the teacher's doing and they're kind of telling them what to do. Milgram's thinking here, I wonder, is it just the fact that the experimenter is there at all that's having these effects? Now, I know this well and good. If I have to nip out the room to go and photocopy something or to go and collect something from another room, I know fine well that you guys don't do the work that I've set you. I know you kind of sit back, you have a wee chat or something, and then as soon as I come back in the room, then that's when you start working again, right? The presence of the authority figure. So what Milgram does here is takes away the experimenter from that room, and he has what he calls remote authority instead. So in actual fact, the experimenter picks up the phone and he phones in his orders to the teacher. Obedience falls in this scenario to 20.5%. So it's almost everyone is refusing to obey at this point. So about 80% of people refusing to obey. Lastly, we're going to have a look at peers. Now, Milgram in this situation wanted to see how peer pressure would interact with obedience. So he does two things here. The first time round, he does it with two additional confederates. These people are going to sit either side of the subject, and they are told to dissent. The first one's told to dissent at 150 volts. The second one told to dissent at 210. This gives the subject a little bit more confidence. They actually say, well, if those guys have already said no, then I'm going to say no as well. Obedience falls to only 10%. Lastly, we have the last Confederate teacher. This person is sitting in front of the machine. The subject, the participant, sits behind him. The participant reads the questions, but it's the Confederate that flips the switch. What happens here? Obedience rises, and 92.5% of people go all the way to the top. So this is perhaps an element of buffers here. We could maybe argue for that. The subject isn't actually causing the pain. It's the Confederate that's doing it. So they have kind of 1 degree of separation from the actual pain there. This maybe gives us a little bit of an idea about the, I was only following orders idea of Nazism back in World War II. Is it that they felt removed from the actual pain that they were causing? Very, very interesting nonetheless. Key concepts here, guys. What we've looked at are the situational factors. What is it about the room? What is it about the people around you that causes you to obey or perhaps not obey? We have legitimate authority. Is it the niceness of the building that makes you obey? Is it the fact that people are wearing uniforms that makes you more likely to do what people say? We've got the aspect of buffers. If you have something in between you and the order you're supposed to carry out, makes it slightly more easy to do. The presence of authority. If you remove the authority figure from the room, they go away elsewhere, means you're less likely to obey. You're more likely to do your own thing. And finally, peer pressure. If you've got other peers who are dissenting, you're more likely to dissent. If you've got another peer in the room who's flipping the switches, then you're more likely to go all the way to the top. Thanks guys, that's everything about the situational factors in obedience. In our next video, we're going to be looking at the effects of society on obedience and seeing how that influences obedience rates. Till then guys, thanks so much again for joining me, and we'll see you again next time. Cheers!